John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Myracle. The Jubilee Express, Maureen Johnson. Page 20. I had no cover story for my parents or why I was here. The full truth was a little too much to throw at a stranger. Going to see my grandparents, I said, kind of last minute change of plans. Where do they live? He asked, looking at the swirling snow that was beating at the window of the train. It was impossible to tell where the sky ended on the ground and the ground began. The snow cloud had crash landed on top of us. Florida, I said. Long way. I'm just going to Graystown next stop. I nodded. I'd heard of Graystown, but had no idea where it was. Somewhere on this long, snowy path between me and nowhere, I offered the box of food to him again, and he shook his head. That's okay, he said. But thanks for the pizza. I was kind of starving. We picked a bad day to travel. Guess there's not a lot of choices, though. Sometimes you just have to do stuff you aren't sure about. Who are you going to see? I asked. He turned his gaze back and folded up the plate the pizza just had come on. I'm going to see my girlfriend. Well, kind of girlfriend. I've been trying to call her, but I can't get a signal. I have one, I said, pulling out my phone. Use mine. I'm not even close to using my minutes this month. Jeb took the phone with a wide smile. As he got up, I noticed just how tall and broad-shouldered he was. If I wasn't so completely devoted to Noah, I would have been deeply smitten. He crossed the few feet just to spot by the other side. I watched him try the number, but he clicked the phone shut without ever speaking. I couldn't get her, he said, sitting back down and returning my phone. So I said, smiling, This is kind of your girlfriend? You still aren't sure if you're dating yet? I remember those times well, when Noah and I first got together and I wasn't sure if I was his girlfriend. I was so deliciously nervous all the time. She cheated on me, he said plainly. Oh, I misread that badly. I felt the pang for him right in the middle of my chest. I really did. It's not her fault, he said after a moment. Not all of it. I never got to hear what had happened because the door of the car flew open and there was a screech, kind of like the sound of a beaker, the horrible oily cockatoo we had as a fourth grade pet used to make. Beaker was the bird Jeremy Rich taught to scream the word ass. Beaker loved to screech and scream the word ass, and he did it really well. You could hear him all the way down the hall in the girls' room. Beaker eventually got moved to the teacher's lounge, where I guess you're allowed to spread your greasy feathers and scream ass all you like. It wasn't ass screaming Beaker, though. It was 14 girls in matching form-fitting sweaters, all of which read Ridge cheerleading on the butt. A form of ass screaming, I suppose. Each had her name on the back of her sleek warm-up fleece. They clustered around the snack bar, yelling at the top of their lungs. I really hoped and prayed that they wouldn't all say, "Oh my God," at once, but my prayers were not heard, maybe because God was busy listening to all of them. There is no lean protein, I heard one of them say. I told you, Madison, you should have had the lettuce wrap when you had the chance. I thought they'd at least have a chicken breast. To my enduring dismay, I noticed that both girls having this conversation were named Madison. Worse, 3 of the others were named Amber. I felt like I was trapped in a social experiment gone wrong. Maybe something involving replicants. A few of the group turned on us. I mean, to us. They turned to me and Jeb. Well, actually, they just turned to Jeb. Oh my God, said one of the Ambers. Is this not the worst trip ever? Do you see the snow? She was a sharp one, this Amber. What would she notice next? The train? The moon? The hilarious vagaries of human existence? Her own head? I didn't say any of that because death by cheerleader is not really the way I want to go. Amber wasn't addressing this to me anyways. Amber had no idea I was even there. Her eyes were on Jeb. You could almost see the robotic core in her corniness, making all the focusing adjustments and lining him in the crosshairs. It's pretty bad, he said politely. We're going down to Florida. She said it like that, like a question. Should be nicer there, he said. Should be nicer there, he said. Yeah, if we make it. We're all cheerleading regionals, which is rough because it's the holidays. But we all had Christmas early. We did ours yesterday. This is when I noticed that they all seemed to be carrying really new looking stuff, shiny phones, conspicuous bracelets and necklaces, and they played with fresh manicure iPods. Fresh manicures, iPods I'd never seen before. Amber 1 sat down with us, a careful sit, with her knees angled together and her heels turned out. A perky sitting pose of someone used to being the most adorable in the general vicinity. This is Julie, Jeb said, kindly introducing me to our new friend. Amber told me her name was Amber, and then rattled off the other Ambers and Madisons. There were other names, but to me they were all Ambers and Madisons. Seemed safe to think of it that way. I had at least a chance of being right. Amber began chatting away, telling us all about the competition. She did this amazing thing where she included me in the conversation and ignored me at the same time. Plus, she was sending me a mental message, deeply subliminal, that she wanted me to get up and give my seat over to her tribe. They filled every available bit of space in the car, so it's half of them on my phone, the other half depleting the water, coffee, and Diet Coke supply. I decided that this was not what I needed to make my life complete. I'm going to go back to my seat, I said. Just as I stood, the train slowed dramatically, throwing us all forward in one big splash of hot and cold liquids. The wheels cried out in protest as they dragged down the track for about a minute. And then we stopped, hard. I heard luggage all up and down the train thundering down. It's my soda again. Thundering down from racks, and then people falling where they stood. People like me. I landed on a Madison and slammed my chin and cheek on something. I'm not sure what it was because the lights went out at the same moment, causing a massive yelp of dismay. I felt hands helping me up, and I didn't need to be able to see who it was, Jeb. To know who it was. To know it was Jeb. You all right? He asked. Fine, I think. There was a flicker, and then the lights came back on, one by one. Several Ambers were clinging to the snack bar for dear life. There was food all over the floor. Jeb reached down and picked up what was once his phone, now a neatly snapped two-piece affair. He cradled it in his hand like an injured baby bird. The loudspeaker crackled, and the voice that spoke over it sounded genuinely rattled, not the cool, bossy tone they were using to announce stops along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, it said, please remain calm. A conductor will be checking your cabin to see if anyone has been injured. I pressed my face against the cold window to see what was going on. We had come to rest next to what looked like a wide road with lots of lanes, something like an interstate. Across the way was a glowing yellow sign suspended high over the road. It was hard to see through the snow, but I recognized the color and shape. It was a Waffle House. Just outside of the train, a crew member was stumbling along through the snow, looking under the carriage with a flashlight. A female conductor threw open the door to our car and started surveying everyone. She was missing her hat. What's happening? I asked when she reached us. We looked really stuck. She leaned down and had a good look out the window, then gave a low whistle. We're not going anywhere, honey, she said in a low voice. We're just outside Gracetown. The track dips down below this point and it's completely covered. Maybe they can send some emergency vehicles to get us by morning. I don't know though. I wouldn't bet on it. Anyway, you hurt? I'm okay, I assured her. Amber 1 was holding her wrist. Another Amber said, "What happened?" "I twisted it," Amber 1 moaned. "Bad." "That's your support wrist on the basket toss." 6 cheerleaders indicated, not subliminally, that they wanted me to move out of the way so that they could get to their wounded member and sit her down. Jeb was trapped in the throng. Is it raining? Still think it's Minnesota. The lights went dim, the heater audibly cranked down, and the loudspeaker came back on. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice said, "we're going to cut a bit of power converse energy. If you have blankets or sweaters, you might want to put them on now. If any of you require extra warmth, they'll try to provide whatever we can. If you have some extra layering, we ask that you share it." I looked at the yellow sign again and then back at the clustered of cheerleaders. I had 2 choices. I could stay here in the cold, dark, stranded train, or I could actually do something. I could take charge of this day that had run away from me too many times. It wouldn't be hard to get across the road and over to the Waffle House. They probably had heat and lots of food. It was worth a shot, and it was a plan I felt Noah would have approved of. Proactive. I gently pushed my way through the ambers to get to Jeb. "There's a Waffle House across the street," I told him. "I'm going to go over there and see if it's open." "A Waffle House?" Jeb replied. "We must be just outside of town along I-40. "Don't be crazy," Amber 1 said. "What if the train leaves?" "It's not," I said. "The conductor just told me. We're stuck here all night. Over there they probably have heat and food and a place for people to move around. What else are we going to do?" "We could practice our enthusiasm rounds," one of the Madisons ventured in a tiny voice. "You're going by yourself?" Jeb asked. I could tell he wanted to come, but Amber was leaning on him now like her life depended on it. "I'll be fine," I said. "It's just across the street. Give me your number," and he held up the broken phone as a grim reminder. I nodded and picked up my backpack. "I won't be long," I said. I have to come back, right? Where else am I going to go?" End on chapter. End on page 29.